I'm Patrick, this is Chris, and we're the Avalon Hill team, and we're here to show you more details about Heroscape, the current Haslab running over on Hasbro Pulse. Chris, what are we looking at?
Yeah, so Patrick, you and I got a chance to test drive the two Haslab exclusive miniatures in a little bit of a play test. And we were so impressed, we wanted to share some of our thoughts with you, get a chance to kind of showcase them and talk about them for a minute, and I'll let you know how kind of truly cool these two are.
I had the privilege of playing both of them against his army, and I'll tell you, there's a couple of beasts right here.
Yeah, on purpose, we put both of these under Patrick, and I made a little army of Clockwork Combine. In fact, my army kind of outnumbered yours about 4-1 on the battlefield, just to kind of see how awesome the powers are on these two units, and get a chance to do that.
Well, let's take a deeper look at them. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Yeah, so I brought my cliff notes so I don't mess up any math here, so I gotta make sure my math. But so let's start with the Draxus Dragoon.
Ooh, nice.
Right? He's part of the Nemesis Warbrood. Right, he's kind of a lieutenant that's kind of mounted cavalry.
Yeah.
And he's got some really cool abilities that make him a little unique and special, right? One is he's got Battle Frenzy, which is super cool because he can chain attacks. So as long as you're rolling hot dice, right, you can keep rolling those dice, keep attacking, and kind of plow through your enemy, so to speak, with Battle Frenzy.
That chain attack is super fun too. It always keeps every attack really exciting because you're hopeful you'll be able to get that second one in.
Yeah, so especially if you're fighting kind of squads and kind of low life models, you can kind of just remove stuff off the board really fast with him. So he's really awesome in that regard. The other cool ability, he's got Maddening Chitter.
Maddening Chitter?
Yeah, and Patrick got this to pull off in the battle.
It's kind of a gotcha mechanic.
Yeah, it's super cool because it's a mechanic that actually lets you manipulate the order markers of your opponent, right? So that's not something commonly that occurs in the game, but to be able to modify the placement of your opponent's order markers and what they can activate can be super maddening for your opponent a little bit.
Well, it really messes with their strategy and allows you to sneak in there and take a glyph.
Yeah, in fact, when we played, when he pulled that off, I had a plan in mind, and he kind of just removed that plan right out of the middle of my turn. So I kind of lost momentum at that point, and that might have been a moment where the tides turned a little bit.
I have to say, if all of this is gibberish to you and you have no idea what we're talking about, go check out the Heroscape Haslab page, and you'll see a how to play video, an overview of the rules. Put all of this stuff into context.
Yeah, 100%. The other character that is exclusive to the Haslab is Scavareth, Lord of Ruin. And besides being probably the coolest
I love this guy. I love him.
He's pretty badass.
He's a tank.
Yep. He's got a couple of cool abilities too. Right, he has an attack. He's got the double burst special attack. So in addition to his ability to kind of move across the table and kind of wreck things in melee combat, he can fire these super powerful blaster cannons and be able to shoot multiples per turn.
Yeah.
Right, and that was, I think, key in your strategy when we played.
Oh yeah, I had to control the map and I could control the battlefield with him. Which was a huge advantage, especially he had a lot of small troops. I just had these two big guys, so being able to mow down some of my enemies was a really, really great move.
Yeah, it didn't matter kind of where I moved on the board because you had such a kind of radius of attack that even spreading out my troops, you were still able to knock them all down pretty easily. So that was very impressive.
Yeah.
The other ability that he's got is his Battle Surge, right, which is a really interesting kind of risk-reward mechanic. Right, because this allows him to get an extra attack when you reveal your X order marker, which is usually something that you're using as a kind of ruse or a decoy in your kind of order marker orders. But for this character, he gets to actually activate against it. So when that happens, he gets an extra attack on top of everything else he's doing. But there's a risk involved because if he doesn't actually attack, he actually suffers a wound.
Yeah. A blood toll, if you will.
Yeah.
But it was great because if I were charging up on anybody, I knew I was able to take that next attack right away and really put the move economy in my favor.
Yeah, it was actually interesting. When we played, I focused a lot of my firepower down on Draxus Dragoon, and I eliminated him relatively early in the game by putting all my effort there.
Sacrificial lamb.
But it was kind of it was a double-edged sword because then all your order markers went against Scavareth, and all he was doing was just shooting everything off the board.
It was awesome. It was really fun.
So that ironically kind of got me in trouble because he took over kind of commanding the entire battlefield at that point.
Hey Chris, can you give me the baseball stats, if you will, on each one of these? Their moves, their hit points.
Yep, and that's why I brought the
really,
math.
yeah,
I
the
brought
really
the math.
dry stuff.
Yep.
But it is really important. I know there's a lot of you out there who are wondering.
Yep. So Scavarth has a move of 7, so he's actually a pretty fast mobile model. Right? I'm sorry, he's got a life of 7, so he's a little tanky. His move is 5, I read that wrong. Typically, he's got a melee attack, right? So he's at a range of 1, attack of 4, and a defensive 4. So he's also a pretty tanky beast there. But he's 185 points, so you're paying for what you're getting there.
Oh, yeah.
And he gets that double burst special attack, and he gets that battle surge, right?
What about Dragoon?
So Dragoon, he's got slightly less life. He's at a life of 6, but he's at a move of 6, so he's a little faster, right? Also has that melee range of 1, but attack is 5, so he's got a really strong melee attack. He rolls a lot of dice, and a higher defense at 5. So, up close, he's doing a lot more damage. He's moving a little faster, and he's a little bit tankier than Scavarth, but those special abilities on Scavarth and that extra life point really pays off.
Yeah.
So they're both relatively high point cost, kind of elite models in both the Ironclad Collective and the Nemesis Warbrood. But I think you definitely get what you pay for based on like us kind of test driving them and playing our little session.
And again, they are exclusive to the Haslab. So if you want to get these two out on the battlefield, you will have to back the Haslab.
Yeah.
To see them. They're not coming out in any other way, any other time.
Nope. Get them now while you can.
Yeah. And another thing we're doing to celebrate 1027 is we are releasing Scenario 1. So if you've got a Heroscape at home, back from its original run, you'll be able to see what that first new scenario is. Chris, you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, in fact, Scenario 1 we designed in kind of response to some of the things we've noticed about the Heroscape world over time. And one of those things is the idea that you can build the battlefield with your opponent, right? So instead of being a pre-designed battlefield like most scenarios are, you're going to set a kind of base layer, and then you're actually going to take turns placing terrain down competitively against each other to kind of build out the battlefield before you actually start rolling dice. So it actually adds this really cool level of strategy because now you can place terrain to block opponents. You can build water lanes so you can limit movement. You can build platforms so you get those advantages. So there's a little bit of strategy kind of baked into that idea of what you're doing by building the battlefield live with your opponent, which makes it really fun and super replayable.
Yeah, Chris was really cutthroat with those water tiles, blocking me away from the power glyphs throughout the game.
Yeah, I had a plan. It didn't work out for me in the end, but it started off perfect in my head.
Absolutely. So if you want Scenario 1, that's over on HasbroPulse.com. So are the cards, the character cards for both of these, if you want to dive into those stats that Chris went through. Then be sure to back the Heroscape Haslab that is currently live. Is there anything else we wanted to talk about? Are we good?
I think we've got it all covered.
Awesome. All right. Thank you very much.
All right.